Can exercise silence tinnitus? I want to be upfront. No, not exactly. But that question deserves a much better answer than a flat no, because what exercise actually does for tinnitus is much more interesting and more useful than most people realize. I've had patients tell me their tinnitus got noticeably quieter after they started exercising regularly. I've had others tell me that after a hard workout that their ringing spiked for a day. Both of those experiences are real. Both of them make sense once you understand what's going on.
If you're navigating hearing loss or struggling with ringing in your ears, then you've come to the right place. The All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, real stories, and cutting-edge solutions in hearing health. We'll dive into the latest advancements in hearing healthcare, explore groundbreaking treatments for tinnitus, and offer practical tips for better hearing. Here to help you tune into a world of better hearing, here's your host from Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus, Dr. Layne Garrett.
I'm Dr. Layne Garrett, founder of Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus here in Utah. I hold a certificate in tinnitus management from the American Board of Audiology, and I've been treating tinnitus patients for over 20 years. Today, we're going to get into what the research actually shows, why exercise helps some people, why it can backfire for others, and what that means practically. To understand how exercise affects tinnitus, you have to understand the stress connection first, because this is where most of that mechanism really lives. Tinnitus and your body's stress response are deeply intertwined. Research published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience documented something you've probably felt yourself. Stress amplifies tinnitus. It doesn't just feel that way. There's real biology behind it. When your body is in a stress state, it shifts into a high alert mode. Your nervous system is running hot, and studies have found that the more activated that stress response is, the worse tinnitus distress tends to be. When your nervous system calms back down, tinnitus distress tends to follow. This is why major life stressors often trigger tinnitus onset or cause existing tinnitus to spike. It's why people frequently report their ringing is loudest when they're exhausted, anxious, or overwhelmed. So where does exercise come in? Consistent, regular exercise is one of the most effective tools we have for lowering your body's chronic stress level over time. It helps your nervous system become more resilient, less prone to staying in that high alert state where tinnitus thrives. That's the core pathway. Regular exercise lowers chronic stress, and lower chronic stress means less tinnitus. Now, let's look at what the studies actually say. The evidence here is real, but still developing, and I want to give you a real, honest picture. A 2022 randomized control trial published in the American Journal of Otolaryngology looked at dietary and physical activity interventions in tinnitus patients. The finding? Exercise alone or combined with dietary changes measurably reduced tinnitus symptoms and improved quality of life. That's not a casual observation. That's a controlled trial with tinnitus patients specifically. A 2024 study in the International Journal of Audiology took a different angle. They looked at whether physical activity might reduce the risk of developing tinnitus in the first place in over 3,000 participants. Their finding was that regular leisure time physical activity showed a potential protective effect against tinnitus. And the flip side was worth noting. Being sedentary, just sitting more, was associated with worse outcomes. That finding has showed up consistently enough across studies that it's hard to ignore. A 2025 scoping review, one of the most comprehensive looks at this question to date, pulled together research on aerobic exercise, resistance training, and mind-body practices like yoga. The conclusion was that physical activity does appear to reduce how much tinnitus interferes with people's lives. Distress, reactivity, day-to-day interference, all trending in the right direction. What none of these studies showed is that exercise eliminates tinnitus. What they do show is consistent movement toward one outcome. Tinnitus bothers people less. That's clinically meaningful even when the ringing itself doesn't fully disappear. Think of it this way. Exercise probably isn't turning down the volume of your ringing. It's turning down how loudly your nervous system reacts to it. The sound may still be there, but it stops rattling the whole house. Now, some people try intense exercise to manage their tinnitus, and it makes things temporarily worse. There's a real reason for that, and it's worth addressing directly. High-intensity exercise, hard cardio, heavy lifting, and HIIT cause a short-term spike in your body's stress hormones. For people whose tinnitus is highly reactive to stress, That spike can briefly turn up the volume on the ringing. Your body is treating that intense effort as a stressor, even though it's a healthy one. Here's the important part. Over time, as your body adapts to regular training, your baseline stress hormone levels drop and your system becomes more resilient. The short-term spike matters less and less. But if you jump straight into high-intensity exercise and your tinnitus flares up, that's not a sign that exercise is bad for you. It's a sign you need to build into it more gradually. Start moderate. Walk, bike, swim, yoga. Let your nervous system adapt before you push the intensity. I saw a patient recently. He came in and he said that he had significant tinnitus that was worse after a stretch of major work stress. He'd stopped exercising entirely during that period. Sedentary, poor sleep, high anxiety, the full picture. We put together a comprehensive plan: sound therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy based work through my tinnitus therapy, and I specifically added exercise as part of his lifestyle component. His assignment was simple: 30-minute brisk walks 5 days a week. Now, it wasn't immediate. For Derek, it took about 6 weeks before he noticed his nervous system starting to settle down, and by 3 months, his tinnitus handicap inventory score had dropped significantly. He was doing multiple things at once, so I can't give all the credit to the walking, but what he said told me stuck. When I started walking every day, my tinnitus didn't feel like an emergency anymore. It was there, but I could leave it alone. That's the goal, not silence. His tinnitus didn't disappear, but his nervous system stopped treating it like a 5-alarm fire. Exercise was part of what got him there. So what does this mean for you? If your tinnitus pulses in time with your heartbeat, or if it's only in one ear, stop here and see an audiologist or an ENT before anything else. That's a completely different clinical picture that needs medical evaluation first. Exercise is not your starting point there. Exercise belongs in your tinnitus management plan. Not as a cure, it isn't one, but as a real lever that works through real mechanisms like lowering your stress, improving your sleep, improving your mood, and making your nervous system more resilient. Most people quit exercise as a tinnitus tool in the first 2 weeks because nothing has changed yet. And nobody told them it could take a few more weeks than that before the nervous system starts to respond. Don't let that be you. Consistency matters more than type. Walking, swimming, cycling, yoga. Pick something you'll do and stick with it regularly. If high-intensity exercise spikes your tinnitus, pull back on that intensity and build up gradually. Don't exercise with music or podcasts just blasting through your earbuds at high volume. And be aware that commercial gyms regularly run 85 to 90 decibels just from background music and equipment noise. That's enough to matter. High-fidelity earplugs or noise-canceling headphones at low volume are worth it there. And understand the ceiling. If tinnitus is disrupting your sleep, your concentration, your relationships, exercise supports your recovery, but it's not sufficient on its own. You need a proper evaluation from someone who actually specializes in treating tinnitus, not just a general hearing test. Now, can exercise silence tinnitus? No. Can it meaningfully reduce how much tinnitus runs your life? The research says yes, consistently, through real mechanisms, and that's worth taking seriously. Start moving, be consistent, be smart about the intensity of your exercise. And if tinnitus has a significant grip on your life, get a real evaluation. Because again, exercise is only part of the picture, not the whole thing. If you want to go deeper on evidence-based tinnitus treatment and what actually works and why, I've put together a learning center with detailed resources. You can find the link to that in the description. And if you're here in Northern Utah and you want a real tinnitus evaluation, not just a basic hearing screening, you can schedule with us in one of our clinics. You can find that link in the description too. You don't just have to live with tinnitus, but you do have to understand it.
A world of better hearing and relief from tinnitus is within reach, and we're here to help. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast right now and join us on the journey to clearer sound and a richer life. Thanks for listening to the All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast with Dr. Layne Garrett. We'll see you next time.